Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoint, and today we are covering something that every gamer needs, and that is budget-friendly upgrades for your gaming setup. We're not talking high-end or expensive gadgets here, as we want to spend the least amount of money we can, even free, to improve your gaming setup in 2025. So if you've got a gaming setup and you want some cheap top tips, I've got you covered. I'll also drop links to everything I show you today, and I'll put the prices on screen as we go. Right, let's kick today's video off with one of my favourite items in the setup and something that I've been using for the last couple of years, and that is one of these USB hubs. So this is actually a charging hub that you can use to charge all of your controllers, gadgets and devices in one place, all off of one plug. Because I'm not sure about you, but having to have separate power plugs and cables for every device can be a real pain sometimes. Now of course you can just have this sitting on your desk, but what I've done is attach some 3M sticky tape to the top and then stuck it to the underside of my desk. Not only does it save me some space on the top, but I think this looks so much neater when it's under here. Now when I'm not using it, it just peeks out from underside on the front of the desk, and when I am, I can simply plug in my USB cables for charging up my controller or my iPad. Now the one that I have here is from Ugreen, but I have linked to some even cheaper ones below that do exactly the same job. Just remember that if you want to copy my setup, you will need some 3M sticky tape as well. And if you are going down the route of attaching things to your desk, we've got to talk about cable management. It's something that I often mention in my desk setup videos, as this one simple tip alone can and will transform any setup from that looks good to that looks awesome. And I'm going to show you some free and cheap tips right now. So first, before you buy anything to help with this, see what you can do with the cables on show. Can they be tucked away, hidden behind the table legs, under your carpet, or do you need that little bit of extra help to get this done? Now I've tried and used so many different cable management clips and tips over the years, but these are my favourites that I still use today. So the cheapest option is to use cable ties. These simply wrap around the cables that you've got and keep them bundled together. The only issue with these is they do need to be cut off when it comes to swapping cables out or adding new ones. And that's why I would actually recommend going for these Velcro cable ties instead. They work in exactly the same way, but you can unwrap and reuse them when changing your setup or cables. So as you can see here, I've bundled all of these cables together, and then using the Velcro ties, I can actually keep them out of the way like this. And already you can see how much of a difference this makes when the cables are neatly tied away. But the next one is to use these plastic clips. They have 3M on the back and a little flap on the front to clip your cables in. Now I have shown these in the past on my other setup videos, but they are such a simple but effective way to sort your cable management, as you can simply attach them anywhere on your desk or on your table legs. Now I've got both the black and the white depending on the desk that I'm using it on, but as you can see here I can stick them on the side of the desk and voila, these are now out of sight and the desk looks so much neater. But the best one if you have a metal desk or metal legs on your desk is to use magnetic clips. So these are the cleanest and the easiest way to bundle your cables together and won't leave any mess if you need to remove or move them around. So yeah, for about £5 or less you can completely change the way your setup looks with cable management. And if you've got a gaming PC, this next one is probably one of the coolest and most practical upgrades that you can make to your setup. So instead of having your PC sitting on your desk or even worse on the floor, you can now mount them on the underside of your desk like this. Now the one that I'm using is from Secretlab as it fits their Magnus Pro desks, but there are cheaper options out there that will fit pretty much any desk that you've got. So these simply clamp onto the side of your desk and will allow you to mount your case like this, which not only looks cool but will massively help with cable management, because you won't need to worry about your wires getting pulled if you're using a standing desk, as the PC will move up and down with it at the same time. So yeah, if you want a really cool way to display your PC in your setup, one of these PC brackets are a great idea. Right, so if you've got a controller or two that you use for gaming, here's a neat way to store them in your setup. Now over the years I've shown you various different charging docks like this PowerA one here, and personally I think this looks just as nice as the official ones. In fact, I might go as far to say as these look nicer than the PlayStation's own charging dock. Now it is designed to store and charge two of your controllers at the same time, and it looks pretty nice in the setup. But if you don't want a charging dock sitting on your desk, maybe you don't have the space for it, here is an alternative for you. So this here is a plastic grip that will perfectly fit your DualSense controller. They do sell them for other controllers as well, but today I'm just going to show you one for the PS5. So what you need to do is you need to peel this sticky tape off the top and then stick it to the underside of your table. Then you take your controller and you can slot that straight in when you're not using it. Now I really like these as it's a cool way to keep them out of sight and they're close enough that you can grab it when you're ready to game. Now you could even go one step further and using those cable management tips, run a USB-C cable up to the grip and charge it while it's sitting under your desk. That way it's always going to be charged up for your next gaming session and it looks pretty cool in the setup. And next up is making your setup look like this on a budget. We're talking RGB lighting, but not the cheap stuff that doesn't work. This is Govi's $15 LED light strip. Now there are more expensive options in their range and there are far cheaper options out there as well, but this is the best all-round value for money that you'll find right now. So with these, we can attach them to the back of the desk, we could fit them under the desk to glow onto the floor, or we could even attach them to the back of the monitor. Either way, this strip is long enough to pretty much go anywhere in the setup and give it a whole vibe in the room. Now, one thing to note about buying RGB lights is you'll notice that some cheap strips will only allow one solid color per strip, so either a solid red, blue, green, and so on. Whereas these RGB IC strip lights allow multiple colors on one line. So here I've only got the one strip installed, but using their Govi app, I'm able to use a mixture of colors and create a cool neon vibe in the setup. So yeah, if you're itching for that RGB style at night and you're not sure where to start, I would grab one of these strips, especially with how cheap they are right now. So if you didn't know already, I use this setup to record my audio for these videos. So every video is recorded sitting right here. And one of the biggest issues that I used to have with either recording audio or chatting with my mates in games was the echo in the room. It doesn't matter how good your mic is, you're still going to hear that echo. Now, one option is to add sound deadening panels to your wall directly in front of you. This will help, but you'll need to cover your entire wall and it's not the cheapest way to do it. But here's a few cheaper options that I still use today. So if you want to soften that sound in your room, even for those online gaming sessions, make sure you've got enough cushions, blankets or beanbags around you. It might sound daft, but the more hard surfaces there are, the more echo you're going to get. Whereas using a blanket will reduce that. I often place a blanket on my desk before I hit record just to take the hardness out of the desk. It doesn't need to be an expensive one either, just a simple plain blanket will do the job. Plus, check out how cozy this setup looks now with a blanket draped across the chair. Maybe even too cozy for a gaming setup, you could say. And here's a little bonus one for you that will cost you absolutely nothing. Spend some time rearranging your desk layout and keep it clean. It sounds simple, but this alone can make a huge difference to how your setup looks and whether it's a place that you look forward to sitting at. So clear that clutter, make sure your monitor is set to the right height, and generally just tidy it. Now, at least once a week, I will give my setup a wipe down and clean the screen. It takes a few minutes and it's probably the reason that I'm often asked why these setups look so clean. You don't need fancy wipes or sprays either, just a microfiber cloth and water will do the job. On my desk, I just give the top, consoles and other accessories a wipe over to remove any dust or watermarks. If there is a stubber mark though, I just add water to the cloth and wipe the entire desktop and then leave it to dry. As for the screens, as I do get this question asked quite a lot, which if you look closely at your own screen, you'll probably see is not as clean as you first thought. Well, for the screens, I use a microfiber cloth and distilled water. Now, the reason I use distilled water is it's the best option to use as there's no chemicals in and won't leave smudges or smears on your screen. Just simply add a little bit of water to the cloth, wipe over gently and rub off any marks as you see them. Again, I'll do this once or twice a week on either my TV or my monitors, and this alone can make the screen look so much cleaner and just removes that buildup of dust it will probably get if we don't do this. But as I say, you don't need any fancy wipes or sprays, just distilled water and a nice soft microfiber cloth. You've also got less chance of scratching the screen if you use a cloth like this. And there you have it, those are my top cheap tips for your gaming setup in 2025. Anything in today's list that you're going to go away and either order or implement into your own setup? Now I'm also thinking if this video does well and you guys like budget type content, I might even do a building the ultimate budget gaming setup, where I kit out an entire room with a desk, chair, monitor, the whole lot on a really tight budget. Let me know what you think to that idea. Now drop a nice setup tips in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out my full desk setup video next, as it covers the full setup build that I did last month. Well, thanks for watching, please like, subscribe and follow me everywhere. Until next time.